What I'd like to distinguish here is the difference between pity and compassion. Pity says there's no hope, there's no other path, there's no other choice, I'm stuck here. To me, that's what it says. Compassion says your situation is hard, it's difficult, maybe even unfair. The choices that your spouse has made have impacted you, and you still have choice. There's still a hope in it. There's still options. Hello, and welcome to the Complex Couples Podcast. I'm Heidi. I'm a couples therapist and relationship coach specializing in mixed orientation marriages and mixed gender identity relationships. Whether you're just discovering this reality or you've been on this journey for a long time, this is the space where your marriage matters, your values matter, and your choices matter. Let's dive in. Hey everyone, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. So something I've been considering is the difficulty people in mixed orientation marriages have of dealing with outside voices commenting on their relationships. It might not be that they're commenting directly on your marriage. They might not even know about your marriage, but just things that they say that are hurtful. And how do you deal with that when it comes up? I remember one day my brother-in-law calling me and he asked me the question, how do you convince people you're happy? And I had to laugh because I knew what he was talking about. Often people think that it would be impossible to be happy in a marriage like mine. And that question might have offended me earlier on. And here's the thing, you might not be happy. Your situation may not be happy or good. But the outside voices that are telling you how you should do your marriage aren't actually helping you get any happier either. So I just like to talk a little bit about how to deal with the outside voices. I do think that's one of the biggest challenges faced by mixed orientation couples, and that is the dialogue surrounding our marriages and the perception of them. Now, people don't talk about it much, but when they do, there's a lot of negative connotations around what they say. I will not forget having a conversation with someone before they knew that this was my situation and talking to them about some of their questions regarding, could a relationship where one person experienced same-sex attraction and the other was straight, could that even be possible to have a happy relationship? At the time, Daniel and I weren't really disclosing our situation. So I just said to them, yeah, I've seen it exist. I'm not saying that that's the choice that everyone should make, but I have seen that it can exist and that couples like that can be happy. And the person said to me, oh, that poor woman, inferring that anyone in a marriage like mine should be pitied. And I will say, when I started to know of my own situation and people would make comments like that, I didn't know, I couldn't name what it was about what they were saying that was really bothering me. But there was something that really, really bothered me about those comments. And that was before I really understood kind of looking at the mouth of the regression, so to speak. And now that I have that terminology, I can look at that situation and recognize that what it was that I felt from them was pity. I felt pitied by them. And so if I'm talking about how to deal with people who are kind of on the outside looking in or making comments, you may not be responding to them directly or telling them specifically about your situation. This might be more of an internal struggle of how do I deal with what it makes me feel? So in this particular situation, it made me feel bad. I just knew it made me feel bad. And I felt like they were saying that like this, I was the worst thing that my husband could possibly have. And poor him that he had to be married to me, and poor me that I had to be married to him. Now, some of you might actually relate. You might actually hear that and think, I do feel like poor me, or I do feel like my poor husband. And it might feel good for you to address that and see the reality of that. What I'd like to distinguish here is the difference between pity and compassion. Because pity says there's no hope, There's no other path. There's no other choice. I'm stuck here. To me, that's what it says. Compassion says your situation is hard. It's difficult, maybe even unfair. The choices that your spouse has made have impacted you, and you still have choice. There's still a hope in it. There's still options. And so I prefer to offer myself compassion rather than pity. I prefer to offer others compassion rather than pity. And I don't view pity as a very useful offering. But you can't help it if other people pity you. As a matter of fact, my guess is they will pity you and they will pity your spouse. And the question really becomes, do I then pity myself? I think one of the things that I had to take a look at was, yes, my husband is gay, and then I had to list out all the other things that my husband was that I actually really appreciated and loved and was grateful for. I eventually came to even appreciate like the things that came with his sexuality and the components of his personality that might be tied to same-sex attraction, but I might not have done that in the beginning. So looking at the big picture and seeing him on a more whole basis helped me not pity myself because I knew what I had. And there were a lot of good things that I had, and there were a lot of bad things that I had. And just like any marriage or any situation, he also had good things and bad things. That was the nature of our marriage because we were both human. So looking at it that way helped me not pity myself. Also, it helped me take some of the power as far as like, okay, how do I address some of these things that really aren't going well? So taking some of the power back so that I got myself out of a position of feeling like I deserved any pity. I'm not necessarily using that when people are talking to me or about relationships, but I can convey that like I don't pity myself. I can convey that I am happy where I am by my behavior. One thing that really struck me though is as long as I was angry at other people for how they perceived my relationship, one thing was for certain, and that was they were never going to see me as happy. If I wanted to be seen as happy, I had to actually be happy. And if I was busy being angry at them and resentful and feeling picked on by them, my anger came out in tears. And my emotions showed, and my emotions betrayed me because my emotion said she's not happy at all because I was crying angry tears. But they didn't know it was about me being angry at them. They assumed that it was about me being in an unhappy marriage. So I would encourage you to look at the mouth of the regression. Look at what the person said that really offended you or bothered you. And look and see, is it true? And if it is true, then that gives you something that you need to address. It gives you the place to start working. And it might indicate that you're accepting something that you shouldn't accept. It might be an indication that you need to choose something different. And if that's the case, you have that option. But if it's not true, let it go. Let them believe what they want to believe. Your anger towards them is going to come out somehow, and it's likely not going to show them what you're hoping to show them. So that's my encouragement for today. This week, I'd like you to just take a look at something someone has said that's offensive and really look at it and consider what it is that you find offensive and why and how you would like to deal with it. What changes you would like to make. And I would encourage you to have compassion for yourself. But if you find yourself moving into pity, look and see why you feel hopeless, because pity is hopeless. So look and see what it is that makes you feel hopeless. Maybe it's that you don't have the financial resources that you would need to make a change. Maybe it's that you lack the courage to really stand up for what you believe is right and true. In a good way. Or maybe you need some compassion for your spouse's situation because you're so worried about your own. Whatever it is, take a look, see what it is that's bothering you about the comment someone made, and share it with me. I would love to hear the comments that you have heard. My email address is heidi@complexcouplescoaching.com. And I read all those emails personally, and I'd love to hear from you. And then just a reminder that if you want additional help, I have a workshop coming up. You can sign up on my website, www.complexcouplescoaching.com. Under the workshop tab, you'll find it there. There's a link in the bio, there's a link in the show notes if you want an easy way. But I would love to see you there if you're interested in figuring out how to navigate your personal situation. In the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful week, and thanks for listening.